welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild, the science of vaccines. We're going to take this epic journey, starting all the way down at the microscopic level with these invisible cellular battles, and then zooming way out to massive, history-altering global victories. If you've ever wondered what actually goes on inside your body after you get a shot, you are in the perfect place. Think about it for a second. It's almost like magic. How does a tiny injection, literally a fraction of a milliliter of liquid in one person's arm, end up building a massive, invisible shield around an entire community? Well, to understand how vaccines work on that global scale, we really have to look at how they work on a molecular scale. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The body's natural defenses. 2. How vaccines train immunity. 3. Modern vaccine technology platforms. 4. The power of herd immunity. And finally, 5. Wiping out global diseases. Let's get right into it. Starting off with Section 1, the body's natural defenses. To truly get how vaccines work, we first got to meet the cast of characters inside you. And, every good story needs a villain. Here, it's the pathogen. Basically, a pathogen is an invading germ, like a bacteria or a virus, that manages to sneak past your body's frontline physical barriers. I'm talking about your skin, the mucus in your nose, or those tiny microscopic hairs in your airways that are always sweeping out debris. Once a pathogen gets past those walls, well, that's when the real battle starts. But here is a super cool detail. Your immune system doesn't usually look at the entire pathogen to spot the threat. Nope. Instead, it looks for a highly specific, unique chemical signature right on the surface of the bug. We call this an antigen. You can kind of think of the antigen like a unique fingerprint left by the invading germ. So, in response to that fingerprint, your body calls in the troops, antibodies. And this is totally wild. You have thousands of different types of antibodies just floating around inside you right now. But each individual antibody is custom trained to lock onto one and only one specific antigen. It is a literal lock-and-key mechanism perfectly designed to shut down that specific threat. Put all this together and you get what scientists call the innate to adaptive cascade. It's like a highly coordinated biological symphony. Basically, patrolling guards in your body called antigen-presenting cells swallow up the invader. They literally digest it, snatch that unique antigen fingerprint, and travel through your system to the nearest lymph node. There, they show the fingerprint to the heavy hitters, your helper T cells and your B cells. Those cells then shift into overdrive, pumping out those custom-fit antibodies to neutralize the invasion. Which brings us to Section 2, how vaccines train immunity. Okay, so the big question. How do we get those defenses totally prepped without having to suffer through getting sick first? Well, when you catch a live bug for the very first time, you undergo a primary immune response. It's slow. Your body has to take time to figure out the antigen and build the antibodies, and meanwhile, you feel awful, you get ill. But once you win that fight, your body keeps memory cells around for decades. So if that same bug ever comes back, boom, secondary immune response. Your cells are already trained and waiting, so they react lightning fast, often taking out the bug before you even feel a sniffle. This right here is the magic of vaccines. They act as a totally safe training simulator for your immune system. They hand your body that specific antigen fingerprint, but completely without the dangerous, disease-causing parts of the pathogen. Your body goes through the whole process, builds those crucial memory cells, and you never actually have to endure the illness. You get all the armor, zero damage. Moving on to Section 3, modern vaccine technology platforms. Let's actually look at the high-tech gear medical science uses to run this training, because there isn't just one way to make a vaccine. We've got several distinct molecular platforms. There are the classics, like live attenuated vaccines that use a weakened virus, or inactivated ones using a killed virus. Then we have subunit vaccines that just use a purified protein. And of course, we have the cutting-edge genetic approaches, like the highly stable viral vector DNA platforms, think the Oxford AstraZeneca shot, and mRNA platforms. Let's zoom in on those mRNA platforms for a second, like the ones from Pfizer and Moderna. The science here is amazing. They use synthetic single-stranded mRNA wrapped in these protective little fat bubbles called lipid nanoparticles. But here is the absolute most important takeaway. This mRNA stays entirely in the cell's cytoplasm. It never, ever goes into the nucleus where your DNA lives. It is physically impossible for an mRNA vaccine to interact with or change your own DNA. It just drops off the blueprint for the antigen, and then your cell clears it out. Ultimately, what these viral platforms are trying to do is trigger what immunologists call a Th1 biased response. Basically, it gears up your body to produce specific pro-inflammatory cytokines and high-affinity IgG antibodies. That's just a fancy way of saying it perfectly tunes your immune system to hunt down threats that try to hide inside your cells, like viruses. It's an incredibly sophisticated defense strategy.
Section 4. The power of herd immunity.
So we've looked at the microscopic stuff. Now let's zoom out to the macro level, entire populations. See, not everyone can safely get a vaccine. Think about people going through cancer treatments, newborns, or folks with compromised immune systems like those with HIV. They can't always get the shot, so they rely completely on the rest of us. When the vast majority of a community is immunized, the pathogen just keeps hitting dead ends. It literally can't circulate. That invisible shield we build around the most vulnerable people, that's herd immunity.
And finally, Section 5. Wiping out global diseases.
To really grasp why all this cellular science matters, just look at this number, 60 million. That is the estimated number of deaths from measles prevented worldwide just between the years 2000 and 2023, all thanks to vaccination. Let that sink in. 60 million lives saved, 60 million futures preserved, just because we figured out how to safely show a tiny antigen to the human immune system. The story of the polio vaccine is another perfect example of this. Back in the early 1900s, polio was a terrifying global crisis, paralyzing hundreds of thousands of people every single year. But by the 1950s, we had effective vaccines. The 1980s kicked off a massive global eradication effort. And then, in August 2020, as a massive testament to human cooperation, the entire African continent was certified completely free of the wild polio virus. We took a global terror and basically made it history. Because at the end of the day, vaccines do a lot more than just fight bugs. Like the World Health Organization points out, vaccination helps build a fairer society, giving everyone a better chance to thrive. When kids aren't getting sick, they stay in school, parents don't miss work, medical costs plummet. It creates a much more stable world where people can actually reach their full potential. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we've seen the science. We know how those cellular heroes work inside you, and we've seen how they translate to saving millions of lives globally. But remember, you're not just an individual. You are a vital piece of that shield. Knowing all this, what role will you choose to play in protecting the most vulnerable people in your community? Thanks for hanging out with me today to learn how vaccines work. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.